Hi everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, and I bet my mind is just my brain is just buzzing with lots of ideas. I've spent most of this weekend um, kind of just brainstorming different ways to learn Japanese with the hiragana, moving on to katakana, hiragana, kanji, sentences, and getting AI, either Claude or ChatGPT, to kind of help um, do some of the heavy lifting on putting together these little web apps and then testing them out on myself and then finding materials, like scraping sentences from Anki decks that I've found online and getting again AI to convert some of the columns that I'm interested in, like the sentences, or even finding maybe some YouTube videos that are teaching basic phrases and then having AI scrape the transcription and converting some of those into sentences as well, and along with the sentences, getting them with both the kanji and the kana, the hiragana, katakana, and then getting them converted to just all basically the uh, kana, hiragana, katakana. I'm trying to avoid using romaji just to not make that a crutch. I've seen some recommendations from other people learning it that they kind of regretted using that for too long. So I'm trying to just kind of start, I guess, not cold turkey, but just start from the beginning with that habit in place. And that is helping me recognize some patterns. Um, and with this format, instead of just adding buttons all over the place like a remote control that has just like engineered to be way too many buttons, I'm also adding in a few little things where, like, if I write in this space where it says type translation here, I can give the program some commands instead of just adding little buttons. So, for example, if I'm working on something where, like, I want to build a sentence, I would get all these separate um, elements. But if I don't recognize the kanji in which order it goes, I can kind of get it to display the original sentence. So that's kind of I can just copy first before having to just really put everything in order on my own. And that actually, just by copying the sentence, allows me to pay attention to little details. So, for example, here, if I try this, build, um, so where it says our dog got sick and died, it's not a very happy sentence. Let me try another one. Um, okay, yes, I was using this one and getting stuck a little bit on pronunciation before, but I'm starting to recognize some of the things on the computer. I think there was um, so moving this in. So what was it? So cool. No, so yeah. This is an example where I would want to see the original instead of trying to guess this. I can try listening to it and see if that helps me a little bit.
パソコンの電源を切ります。
So that actually felt a little fast. I'm going to slow that down. So I've added a speed bar here.
パソコンの電源を切ります。
Satokon. Yeah, I'm still working on recognizing the the katakana. So what I'm going to do here is put like show the Japanese. So this should, if I click this one, it should switch. Or is it no translate? Sorry, just show this here. Yeah. So now I'm getting yeah, it would be the show kana if I want the kana. So here I actually get that sentence that I'm trying to copy. So here, instead of giving myself a button, I'm just giving it a command. And if it recognizes that command when I hit the button, then it'll do another format, so I don't have to keep adding all these little buttons and creating logic on what to do for each one of those. But so here I'm trying to reconstruct that sentence. So like this, I was hearing it, and then I'm recognizing some of the symbols to copy, and I'm noticing these two are very similar, very subtle, but one of these I think is the higher one up. So getting myself to copy it, I'm starting to recognize some of those differences. I think that's and then over here the no, and then I'm getting into the kanji, which I think is the power, and recognizing, I mean, what order to put them in, because they feel just a bit kind of not really knowing them. I just have to learn them, and then moving on to the O particle, and then here I think is the start of um, the next kanji for the verb, for the imas, 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 and then there. And now I can click check and see if I hope I copied it. I hope I didn't forget one. And yeah, okay, that says that's correct. And now the another thing I want to try doing there, and I was struggling this with before. So this is a P sound, not an S sound. So I'll see if I can try to copy that again.
パソコンの電源を切ります。
Pa again.
パソコンの電源を切ります。
Pasokon no dengen wo kirimasu. Yeah, so I'm going to try to speak in Japanese. So now when I do that, it should access the microphone when I click this button. And I'm going to try to read that and see if it tells me that's correct. I've been struggling with that before, but paso, yeah, let me try that. So it needs the microphone access. So you don't see that, but it's asking me for that. So I'm mentally preparing what I'm going to say. And this is like real practice. And I keep seeing on the Google Translate when I do this, like it's not getting that. But so let's see if this time it might work. So, okay. パソコンの電源を切ります。No, try again. Now, if I do take that, I'm getting that パソコンの. Okay, that's recognizing it. But this one, and I added something here. So I need to go in and listen again. I will keep this one, see what that means. I'm not sure what I ended up saying. I probably might embarrass myself with something if I find out what that means. I recognize that there's a lot of little words and a lot of comments on Reddit, people making comments on these things, of making themselves mistaken and embarrassed and remember these anecdotes years later. So let me listen again.
パソコンの電源を切ります。
Kirimasu. Okay. No, I didn't. I had a kiki, but kirimasu. Okay. One more time.
パソコンの電源を切ります。
So let's hope that I can get that part again and then get the verb. Okay. So パソコンの電源を切ります. Okay. So I'm going to go back here and say, speak Japanese. And if that does that, okay. パソコンの電源を切ります。Okay. パソコンの電源を切ります。Oh, hey, it's correct. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So these are these little moments where it's these kind of like I did something, or these kind of aha moments, these Euroka, like Archimedes, or Doc Brown looking at the time machine in 1955 and going like, I made something that works. So these are these really like building blocks of moving up and recognizing like I can get this piece. I can get that piece. Another thing I wanted to add on here is if like here I'm building this sentence, but let's say I want to go back and just focus on pronunciation of part of it, like the beginning here. So I'm going to delete back to there. So paso con. And I'm going to put, what was this? Say? Yeah, I think it was like, um, is that what I wanted? Oh, now I'm forgetting the commands that I gave it, but maybe say. Yeah, say. Let me see if that works.
パソコンの
Yeah, okay. So this is giving it the command of like telling it to read what I have here. And then I'm struggling with that other part. So I'm going to delete all of those and then put in that kirimas. So kiri. Oh, where was it? Kirimas. Kirimas. And try that part.
切ります。
Kirimas. And it's also helping with some of the pitch tones. I've been doing a little bit of training my ear, recognizing with a musical background and things to make associations. I know with like Spanish, there's like aguda, grave, estrujada, but for Japanese, it's not length or volume; it's pitch, and that there are some differences. And things like chopsticks or bridge make a difference there, which in Spanish are things like pa 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 pa, where we do hear an emphasis or an accent mark, but here they're not necessarily written on the materials. You kind of have to know it, but listening to some of these tools that can do this for me. So this allows me to kind of get a sentence, break it into pieces if I'm working on it, and then also try to pronounce it. So I'm trying to read it, try to copy it, write it in a way, listen to it, recognize pieces of it, and give this thing some commands on like showing the kana. So if I want to put like, okay, go back and well, I have the kana here on the screen, but if I have these the kanji, I don't necessarily recognize the pronunciation of those. So I'm going to put show kana now and put this one. And now I have that whole broken down into the bits and pieces, how to pronounce it. So if it still could insert some of the, actually it still has some of those katakana there at the beginning. So I still need to recognize what those were, and I'm still working on training myself with that. But I could take this as like what I'm going to work on when I'm going to be trying to pronounce this. And then another thing I set up here was to just start many years later ago. I can't speak English anymore. Many years ago, I used to have access to a bunch of Pimsleur audio series, and they would be like a kind of like a few minutes of a conversation, and then another 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes of breaking the conversation down into pieces and just kind of listening to a series of sentences. That would be part of a context of conversation. About 10 years ago, somebody introduced me to a series, I think, called Glossica, where those were sentences and that you could listen to them and just try to go through them and get exposed to as much vocabulary as possible. So I thought that since I had been scraping all of like about 1,000 different sentences from one Anki deck, and this thing could be producing those, I figured, what about if I just let this go and have it display up at the top here all three of these things: the sentence itself, the pronunciation and the kana, and then the translation in English. And if I'm looking at it on the screen, I'm recognizing little bits and pieces and maybe parts of the sentence vocabulary pieces. So it's kind of like a puzzle right now that I'm trying to figure out. But if I just turn my head away from the screen and just kind of listen, I'm also detecting little patterns as well. So here I can just get it to start, and it should run on its own for several minutes.
彼は昼過ぎに来ます。
He'll come after lunch.
I'm going to speed that up a little bit.
仕事の帰りにビールを飲んだ。
Biru. Okay. Yeah, I can see beer in there.
I had a beer on the way home from work.
体重がかなり減りました。
And the mashita, I know that's the
I've
past
lost
there.
a lot of weight.
Past, yeah.
明日の天気は晴れです。
That's tomorrow.
Tomorrow's
Yes.
weather will be sunny.
近所で盗難事件が起きました。
I don't recognize anything in there.
Some burglaries occurred in the neighborhood.
靴売り場はどこですか？
Doko desu ka? Yeah, I think the where.
Where is the shoe department?
And kutsu, yeah, the shoes. Yeah.
彼女は早口だ。
I think that's
She talks quickly.
Okay. Han.
お茶を入れましょうか？
Shall I make tea?
Yeah, tea.
彼に直接お願いしなさい。
Ask him directly.
Okay, I'm gonna stop there. But yeah, so I can just get this thing going, and it'll keep exposing me to more and more and more vocabulary, things in present and past and future, and it's just the exposure. And as I'm going through this, I'm thinking of ways that I could be applying this to teaching English, also working on other languages, giving myself just more and more input on other languages that I'm working on, like Russian, German, Italian. Those ones I want to strengthen a little bit more with conversational things, or even get transcriptions of these audios that I'm making about my daily practice, and try to get some of the stuff that I say frequently in English and see if the AI can kind of scrape some of that and turn them into sentences, get some translations, and see if I can kind of really work on some of these lingering concepts or phrases that I do think and use to express myself, but don't necessarily know them in these other languages. So this has really got my brain buzzing with lots of ideas, and also things that I can develop for my ESL students at school, and try to get them through guided practice, because this kind of approach of just random sentences, I enjoy it, but getting somebody to kind of like a role play, or applying this one sentence after another for perhaps kind of a short story, and kind of following along, either adding a picture or an icon, adding something that somebody can attach some meaning to, try to hide the translation, or get somebody to guess the parts of the translation. So I'm getting some ideas of that as well, of like a guided reader, or turning something here into role play, so that like getting questions and answers, or possible answers, and then from those answers, kind of like a choose your adventure, if that can go one or two other ways. So definitely, yeah, my brain is buzzing. I spent a couple days now over the weekend just brainstorming, also using the AI tools and saying, here's my design concept. I want something that does this, this, this. Or I want these elements. And then also going back in behind the scenes when something doesn't quite work a certain way, then I am kind of on proficient enough in the programming to get myself in a mess, but also able to give some of the AI programming some adult supervision, but it kind of goes both ways where I say like, I think I might want to try this, but then it'll come back and say, no, you actually, if you want to accomplish that goal, you try it this way. So I've got a whole toolkit now of little concepts that I've learned from working on multiple projects. So these things like the adjusting the speed or getting these playback buttons or being able to delete something in a text area because otherwise I would have to just reset it and shuffle it, or adding up an extra button that's kind of like an enter button so that if I want to apply some command or listen again or speak again or whatever this was, I can hear it and just kind of develop these ideas. So, hola a todos. Hoy es martes, el 5 de mayo. Y hoy en México es el día de bueno, conmemoración de la batalla de Puebla. Hoy en la escuela no tuvimos clase. Es mi último día de ese largo fin de semana. Entonces, casi todo el fin de semana estaba practicando japonés y creando estas herramientas para aprender japonés y practicar entre escuchar, leer, escribir, no sé qué más puedo decir, escuchar, leer, escribir, hablar, y con la pronunciación. Entonces hay como poco a poco son como un laboratorio lingüístico para ayudarme, y cada vez que intento hacer una cosa para mí, son ideas que puedo aplicar a mis alumnos. Entonces, ahorita acabo de hablar muchísimo en inglés para presentar un poco esa herramienta que estoy desarrollando, y, pero tengo la mente llena ahorita con ideas para aplicar eso y desarrollar más cosas para aprender los idiomas. Bonjour tout le monde, aujourd'hui c'est mardi, c'est le 5 mai. Encore une fois, c'était une journée sans école. Ça fait un pont de 5 jours depuis vendredi, samedi, dimanche, lundi, aujourd'hui. Donc demain, je retourne au travail. Et ce week-end, comme j'avais du temps, j'ai essayé de dédier un peu de temps pour apprendre le japonais et aussi créer des nouveaux outils linguistiques. Et ça est ça m'aide beaucoup et ça me donne vachement d'idées maintenant pour des petits outils qui se ressemblent pour faire une application et qui est assez dynamique et qui m'aide à lire, écouter, écrire, parler, ce qui est un peu les quatre usages de la langue et depuis le début, et je ne suis pas forcément dépendant des romaji, par exemple, donc je peux aller tout de suite essayer de lire et écrire dans la langue directe avec les trois façons de kanji, hiragana, katakana, kana. Et donc, j'essaie d'aller beaucoup plus vite que normalement ça pourrait être. Mais donc, si j'essaie de faire ça comme une septième langue, ça me donne aussi des idées pour continuer à apprendre d'autres langues. Donc, voilà. Hallo an alle, heute ist Dienstag, der 5. Mai, und heute ist der letzte Tag für meine Wochenende, die 5 Tage. Morgen gehe ich zurück zur Schule, und diese Wochenende hatte ich viel Zeit für Japanesisch zu lernen und auch Programmieren. Und jetzt habe ich viele Ideen für andere Programme für Fremdsprachen zu lernen. und auch für Lehren Englisch in der Schule. Und ich denke, dass machen es und Lehren für mich, es ist auch wunderbar für mehr Ideen zu haben. Und das ist alles für heute. Ciao a tutti, oggi è martedì e 5 maggio e oggi è ancora un giorno senza scuola perché ci sono 5 giorni senza scuola per il lungo fine settimana perché oggi in Messico nella storia in Puebla ero una battaglia fra Messico e Francia e per questo non abbiamo scuola oggi. Ma ho passato molto tempo per imparare giapponese e fare programmi con la JavaScript, HTML e con intelligenza artificiale. Mi aiuta molto per fare queste cose, per leggere, ascoltare, scrivere, parlare e penso che posso imparare con prestissimo di questa maniera e sono molto felice con questo e ci sono molte idee per aiutare altri studenti nella scuola e per me anche anch'io voglio imparare tedesco, italiano, russo con queste idee e penso che può aiutarmi molto. Questo è tutto per oggi. Всем привет. Сегодня вторник, это 5 мая, и еще раз это был день без школы, потому что у нас было 5 дня свободных дня. Сегодня в Мексике это день, когда была война между Мексике и Францией. Но я хотел учиться японский язык и делать программу по интернету, и это помогает много-много-много, чтобы практиковать, читать, слушать, написать и говорить. И также сейчас у меня много-много идей, чтобы продолжать учиться по-русски, по-немецки, по-итальянски, и также делать программы для английского языка в школе. И я очень счастливый, и это все на сегодня. Большое спасибо. Пока.